Hey everyone, I wanted to take a short walk today just to talk with you guys about some exercise that I've been doing this week and also my diet change. Because I've been doing keto for probably at least a month now, if not a little longer. I just don't feel that it's making the impact that it should on my weight loss. I don't know if I'm just not doing it right. I feel like I understood it and I feel like I was doing things right and it seemed to work for me initially, but I just don't think that it's working for me any longer. So I'm going back to what I understand, what I know, and what has worked for me in the past. And that's basic calorie counting and keeping track of my macros. Now, in the past, I haven't gone into too much detail on what I mean by that exactly, but today I want to change that. I want to share with you some more in-depth detail on how I come up with the calories that I need to intake, along with the macros that I use for that. And by macros, I'm talking about carbs, proteins, and fats. Something to keep in mind here is that while yes, everyone's body operates the same way, we all have slight differences in our genetic code, you can say, that require different amounts of both calories and macros and micros if you want to get down to that level. But you have to use some kind of general formula to know what's right for you. And then on top of that, you need to use how your body is feeling to then adjust those numbers accordingly. For those of us that have struggled with food intake for most or our entire lives, that's not exactly the easiest thing to grasp or understand right away. So take your time in finding out how your body feels and know that hunger doesn't necessarily mean you need more calories. Keeping all that in mind, I'm going to start with the very first and most important thing, and that is your calorie intake. When it comes to calories, it's pretty simple. There's a lot of online calculators out there. I will link to one in the description of this video. So when you get to one of these sites, they're gonna ask you for your age, your weight, and your height. You're gonna wanna enter that in and hit calculate. This will give you your supposed, your supposed intake for just maintaining your total daily energy expenditure. This number you can then use to subtract, and for weight loss, it's usually 500 calories is what you want to start with. And that's the calories that you need to intake, that or less, you would need to intake in order to then lose weight. Once you have your calories, that's a great place to start, along with drinking just water and cutting out sugar. Those three things, if you're just starting weight loss, you're on a good path. Figure that out first. But it's also important to then track macros, and that's gonna be step number 2. And by macros, we're talking carbs, proteins, fats. Now, to get this, if you use the link that I put in the description for the total daily energy expenditure, they'll actually have recommended values of what they think you should have. For if you click on like cutting, they'll show you what they recommend. But I've been looking at this stuff for quite some time now, and I would actually recommend doing what I found from another channel I watch here on YouTube, Bricks Fitness. If you were looking for another channel to get advice from, go ahead and check out Bricks Fitness. I will put that link down below as well. What he advises is figure out your general body type. And body type, we're talking endomorph, exomorph, and mesomorph. Those are the 3 general body types. Again, the human body is pretty complex, so you don't just fit into one of those categories usually. You can be in between, and it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. So you really have to figure this out for yourself. So once you've figured out your body type, you can then determine your carbs, the grams of carbs you should intake based on that. And what Bricks was recommending was 50% for ectomorphs, 40% for mesomorphs, and 30% for endomorphs. And that would be for your total daily calorie percentage. So for instance, I'm more of an endomorph, so I'm closer to endomorph. And so mine would be like 30 to 35% of my calorie intake should be from carbs. So after you've gotten your carbs figured out, you can then go and figure out your protein. And this is a little bit different. There's a lot of places to look out there for what people recommend on protein. And for someone of the morbid obesity size, it's hard to find a good accurate calculation for this because it goes based off of weight. For me, because of the low calorie point that I set, I did 0.5 grams of protein per pound of weight. If you're working out and you're being really active, you can do 0.75, and that's what Bricks recommended. But other places I've seen say 1 gram. So those are kind of across the board. I would say if you're not being that active, which if you're losing weight, you should try to be at least somewhat active. I'm personally striving to do 1 active thing a day, at least, because I do have a desk job, so that makes things a little difficult. But I do have access to a gym and a pool and all this other stuff that I'm using to kind of offset those inactive hours. But anyway, that would be how you would figure out how much protein you should be intaking. Then when it comes to fat, grams of fat you should be having, it's not recommended to go over, I think it was like 35%. Oh boy. Hello. Ooh, that was a big old dog. It's not recommended that you go over, I think, like 35% of your total daily calories in fat. So basically that equates to around, I think on a low end, 44 grams to like 77 on the high end. 44 to 77 grams. Once you've figured out these percentages of carbs, fats, and proteins, and you know how many grams of each you should have, if you match those grams, if you hit those grams every day, you should be matching how many calories you intake. And that's because 1 gram of carbs equals 4 calories, 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. So if you're matching what you've calculated for your carbs, fats, and proteins, it should equal your total calories for the day. Now for me, I haven't seen much success with doing anything over 2,000 calories. And that seems odd because when I do my total daily energy expenditure calculation, it doesn't seem to matter which calculator I use. They all say that I'm burning like 3,000 calories per day. So that would mean even when I'm doing a 2,500 calorie diet, I am still 500 calories in a deficit. But I seem to need to do like a 1,000 calorie deficit according to those calculations in order to lose any weight. So currently I'm doing 1,800 calories, which isn't a lot, and it's been tough. So when it comes to my carbs, proteins, and fats, I'm trying to keep my carbs at 30% of my calories, and that puts me at like 135 grams for carbs. And then protein, I'm doing 0.5 per pound that I have left, and that puts me around 200. And for fat, I'm trying to shoot for 70 grams or less, but I'm finding that that is a difficult one to keep in check. When it comes to exercise, I was able to get into the gym and go swimming, and when I got home and there were days that I didn't have to work, I typically took the dogs, if there were more than one dog over, for a walk, or I would take Toby, which is our dog, for a jog. And I have to say that Toby makes a pretty good pace car, considering he has me jog from like one mailbox to the next mailbox, and then we pause. So then I get a little bit of a breather, and then we take off for the next mailbox. He's been a pretty good jogging buddy. But I hope that this gives you guys a little bit more insight into what I'm currently doing with my diet. If you have any questions, if you want me to go into more detail, hopefully I'll be posting more videos with like some of the meals that I'm having so you get an idea. I'm pretty bland. Mainly it's like chicken in a wrap with some cheese, or I use mustard as a dressing because that's basically just salt. I do salads. I do protein shakes to get that protein in. But yeah, that's oatmeal. Basic meals. I'm not very complex in what I try to bake. It's a time thing, and I'm not much of a cook. But anyway, yeah, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below. I'd be happy to try to give you guys any more information that you need. And let me know what you do. I'm interested in what different diets you guys do, and maybe what exercise activities you guys do. Let me know in the comments. But that is going to conclude our walk today, and I will see you guys at the weigh-in. There's actually one more quick thing I wanted to share with you guys. You may wonder why it took me a long time to come to this conclusion that I needed to reduce my calories to such an extreme, and why I've been maintaining for so long. I think a lot of it has to do with I was scared, and I still am. I still am scared about reducing my calories this much. I feel like it's too soon to reduce it, and that I've heard studies talking about wrecking your metabolism from dieting this way, from reducing your calories over and over and over again. I've tried to combat this with intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, and keto, and none of those seem to really get me results. I've contemplated doing extended fasting, but I don't really have like the medical or doctor support that I would like to do something like that, because I fear that in the long run, what I'm doing, calorie decreasing and slowly losing that amount, that I'm eventually going to have to live on 1,500 calories a day, and that terrifies me. Thinking that, or less, who knows? Who knows what it would be? And I think part of what terrifies me in that is thinking that I won't be able to sustain that. I won't be able to keep that off. I won't be able to keep that weight off. I won't be able to maintain that. And so I've been putting off reducing my calories to this point because of that. And I am finally taking that leap because I'm frustrated that nothing else is working. And I'm finally at a point where I think I can. I think I can do it. 1,800 is tough. That's not a lot of calories to work with, and it's definitely been a struggle to adjust. I've noticed that now that I'm like 4 or 5 days in, I think, that I've been able to stick to it a little bit more, and I haven't given way to too many carbs or overeating. The most I've done is, if I have gone over the 1,800 mark, it's been in protein because I've exercised. And so I give myself a little bit of that leniency, but it's not been easy. And the future of this and where I fear that I'm going is what terrifies me. I think that's why it's taken me so long to get to this point and why I've maintained for so long. But I'm trusting in the process. I'm trusting in God, and I'm trusting in Toby. I'm trusting in Toby to take me on walks. Trusting in you, bud. You keep me active, all right? And in time, I'm hoping to obviously get back into weightlifting and keep that going so that I can build up muscle. And the idea behind building up muscle is to build up your metabolic rate so that you burn more. And that's what I gotta put my trust in and put my energy in, is that as well. Believe in the process. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and now I will be taking you over to the weigh-in. Right, Toby? Paw 5. Well, it's that time of the week again. Time to go get weighed. I am weighing again here on Sunday, which is my typical weigh-in day. However, I do have a scale at home now that I'm using, and according to that, I should have some good results today. So, I don't want to spoil anything. But obviously the scale at the clinic varies a little bit from my scale at home, especially since I'm wearing like shoes and stuff that can add just a little bit of weight. But I want to be consistent, so I'm going to use the same scale. And it's kind of like a momentous thing to go to the clinic every Sunday.
The nurses, I'm sure, are happy to see you.
Oh yeah, the nurses say hi to me and ask me how I'm doing. They're very nice. With all that being said, let's go see how I did this week. Natalie, you gotta fill in for Joe here. But you didn't do a yeet.
I don't eat.
She doesn't eat, folks.
I don't eat.
No yeeting. That's right, guys. That's about what my scale showed at home, so I'm pretty satisfied with that weigh-in. I've worked hard this week, reducing my calories, and it seems to be paying off. So, hello.
Hey.
Ugh. Went down 418.
Nice.
So we are out of the 420s officially.
That's awesome.
And at a new all-time low. Almost ready to say goodbye to the 400s.
That's awesome.
Which will be really cool. And I think we're getting close to 150 lost. High five. That's a jellyfish, if you didn't know. All right, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, you guys have a wonderful week.